everybody, and welcome to Vital Wisdom with me, Dr. Eli Camp. And today I'm going to be doing Q&A. So I have received some questions in via email, and they're great questions. And I thought that I would tackle those today. There's a few questions that came in that I've responded to you already, whoever wrote the question, saying that I'm going to cover that in depth in an upcoming show. But today I have included a question that is also upcoming episode on water, because I think it's really important to get people doing good things with water sooner than later. So, do I have to buy everything organic? I can't afford to buy everything that way. Well, no, and we certainly don't in my family. And I do try and guide my patients into being smart about this. But there are certain things that you should buy organic, that you should always buy organic to reduce the toxic load on your body. Meat and dairy. Not only should these be purchased organic, but you want to get the free range if at all possible, right? And that includes eggs. For fruit and veggies, I use EWG.org, the Environmental Working Group. This is a group that independently researches and tests every year fruit and veggies. They produce a most contaminated and a least contaminated list. If you visit them online, you have to give them your name and email to get a copy of the report. But the most contaminated should always be purchased organic. The least contaminated, you can save a little money by not buying those organic. It's that simple. By getting the most contaminated fruits and veggies organic, you eliminate over 90% of the potential pesticides and toxins that could be introduced into your body by not buying them organic. To me, that's pretty major, right? It's worth the extra $15 on my grocery bill. Grains organic. There's strict regulations about what can be sprayed on grains. None of it's good, that spray. And so until we can grow our own grain, we always buy our grains organic. Now, we did start growing our food, and I encourage all of my patients and anybody that comes out to Long Shadows Ranch, which is where I live, and it's a homestead teaching farm, in case you've missed my previous episodes where we teach people how to live more sustainably, how to do regenerative agriculture, how to eat cleaner and in a healthier way, how to cook, how to forage, all this stuff. And we started growing our own food to save money. I mean, it was expensive. You're right. We can't afford all that either. So we started with things like chickens and eggs. Most of our fruits, veggies, and potatoes we can do in the garden right here. Right now, we have to buy grains, which we do organic, flour, organic, that sort of stuff. And in the middle, as winter's coming to an end, especially in the early years, I didn't know how much to plant to have enough food. And some food is tough to preserve it, right, through the winter. So if we do have to buy fruits and veggies or meat in the store, we'll do that organic. We try and hunt for deer, so we have venison. We fish, so we have fish, and I watch the tests that are done on the lake that we're fishing from. And if the contaminants are high, we don't eat that fish. What else do we do? We barter, so we'll barter for other types of hunted meat, wild game from other folks, especially wild boar. There's a lot of boar around here. We haven't gotten one yet, but we will, I'm sure. All right. Then that was from Mary Jane. Mary Jane, keep your chin up. Get some stuff planted in containers if you have to. And Philip says, here we're on to the next question. Philip says, my city has a good treatment plant. Do I really need to worry about the water from my tap? Thanks for the question, Philip. Philip is from San Diego. So my short answer is yes, you do. You absolutely do. And there's a ton of research going on about this right now. There's lots of folks talking about this on podcasts. I've been talking about this for 20 years, but thankfully some folks have started to talk about this more recently as well. And I'm going to be talking about water in an upcoming episode, but here's some quick facts, Philip. And this comes from a variety of sources, including Harvard Health, the USDA, the Carey Institute, the EWG, the FDA. All right, in 2024, more than 22 million drank water that contained illegal levels of contaminants. One of every 3 water systems that operated year-round violated federal drinking water laws. 1 of 3. Public drinking water contains more than 1,000 contaminants. Public drinking water. This is what you get delivered to your house out of the tap, right? That's considered public drinking water. It contains more than 1,000 contaminants, including organic chemicals like pesticides, solvents, arsenic, and benzene. And that is just to name a couple. That's at the head of a pin. Inorganic chemicals such as lead, mercury, nitrates, the bad ones, iron and zinc, right? There are not everything coming in is your body seeing as poison. So microbes, viruses, coliform bacteria, giardia, radioactive contaminants like radon, pharmaceuticals. This is a massive problem right now. The IEPA has set legal limits or maximum contaminant levels, they're called MCLs, for only 40 of the 1,000 contaminants. What about the other 960? What about the other 960? Even though lead levels may be within the EPA's MCL, remember the measurement is taken at the plant. On the way to the tap, lead from pipes, fixtures, solder, that can leach into the water. So as a precaution, I don't want to be all doom and gloom, run your water until it's good and cold before drinking or cooking with it out of the tap. If you are still going to drink tap water after I answer this question, here's a really important thing. No federal agency approves water treatment units. What? Thankfully, we have a lot of folks with integrity out there, but we're human. We know what happens. Some people do their job good and some people don't do their job good. Back to those pharmaceutical compounds, there was an Associated Press investigation that reported that pharmaceuticals and sex hormones were found in the drinking water of at least 41 million Americans. And you know what? I don't know what the population of America is right now. I'm going to look. What's the population of America? Because 41 million is a lot of people. I'm looking. Population. 334.9 million. That's like a fifth of the people. Like I don't like those odds. I don't know if you like those odds. I don't like those odds. And the EPA doesn't have standards for these particular contaminants. So there's no rules about them being in the water. They just are. The EU Environmental Working Group, the EWG, showed that 10 best-selling brands of bottled water contained around 38 contaminants, including bacteria, fertilizer, and industrial chemicals. So just saying to yourself, well, I'll just go buy bottled water. No, level of these contaminants were similar to what's allowed in tap water. In fact, there's been a number of studies done where we know 45% of the bottled water companies comes from municipal water source anyway, even if the label reads purified. Fluoride, do I need to say any more about fluoride? So I'm going to be doing, Philip, and everyone else, I'm going to do an entire episode on water. So you'll hear some of that stuff again, but lots more stuff. So what to do for now, which is why I included this question, filter your water. There's a lot of different kinds, a lot of different tools. I'll go through them when we do that episode. The one I use and love is Zero Filter. I like it because the cost, the convenience, and the filtration, what it filters out. There's a link that I'm going to, hopefully it pops up on the screen. That's to a combo pack of the pitcher with some filters. And that's what we use. And we go through, like, we're out in the country, our water's not too bad. It still has a lot of junk in it. And we probably switch our water filters out every 6 weeks. Probably every 6 weeks, maybe every month. We have 2 water pitchers because we go through a lot of water, and we always put trace minerals back into it. So that's the answer to the water. Then I got this from Megan and Ronnie. So one of them really is pro-homeopathy and one is totally not pro-homeopathy. So they've been listening to my show, and here's the question. If homeopathic remedies are so dilute, how can you expect me to believe they do anything in the body? Well, I don't know who's who. I don't know who supports homeopathy in this family and who doesn't, but here's what I'm going to tell you. First of all, thanks for the question. I hope you can, if you're listening to me on Spotify, I hope you can see the smile on my face when I say this next part. And not to sound rude, but I don't expect anyone to believe anything. That's not my job. I simply report and discuss on my experience in life and medicine as a practitioner. Here is what we think is happening. There's information encoded in the potentized remedy. We already know, it's already established that water can carry information, right? And it acts as a sort of a medium. Whatever information is coming from the potentized substance, right? Somehow, I know this sounds very vague, but I'll explain that in a minute. Somehow the body can read that information, and if the remedy, potentized remedy, is prescribed using the law of similars, which is a very important law in the practice of homeopathy, the body can use that information to correct itself. And I know that that is not maybe the big, long explanation you were hoping for, but here's the deal. We don't understand this medicine well enough. We understand how to use it. We understand how to apply it in clinical practice. That's a very duplicatable and a very reliable way, right? My success rates are well over 80% in using homeopathy to treat people. But there isn't a general consensus that I can put before you that most of the homeopaths in the world believe. Research continues. And what I can tell you is I've treated thousands of patients. And when the remedy is correctly chosen, the person reacts, the body heals. And it can happen in minutes with acute illness or first aid situations. That can also take days or weeks, and it can take weeks to months for chronic illness. When an incorrect remedy is chosen, nothing. And I have treated all of it: acute illness, infectious illness, chronic illness, and this is true for all of them. Proper remedy chosen, the body responds. Okay. The last question is from Rhonda. Hi, Rhonda. She's in Chicago. And she is trying, Rhonda, I hope I'm saying your name right. This is a great question. Making changes to be healthier is really overwhelming. Where do you suggest I start? Well, it is a good question. The answer really matters based on your own individual situation. But I like to start with food and water with my patients, with my friends, with folks I meet. It's an easy way to get toxins out right away and start bringing in nutritive and healing substances. And I encourage people to plant food, even if it's one thing. Maybe it's tomatoes, maybe it's cucumbers, maybe it's onions, to start learning how to do this, right? So plant food. If you can do more than that, great. If you don't have land that you can put it in containers. I will work with folks to teach them what to buy organic and figure out their food sensitivities, all within a really short period of time. I get folks hydrating properly. So food and water. If if folks have trouble getting proper nutrition, then I'll turn to supplements like a greens drink. Most of my patients are on trace minerals simply because reverse osmosis is the easiest way to remove everything from water, and then it needs to be remineralized. So sometimes folks need a nutrition drink to get in all the greens and fruits. So food and water, I'll bring in those supplements if we need to. But once they make an adjust to these initial changes, we move on to other parts of the plan. If they're not sleeping well, we go there. If they're not moving their body, we go there, right? I don't try and do too much at one time. That overwhelms folks. So if someone's come in to see me and there's a diagnosis of something, maybe they're in pain or there's something going on, I often have to incorporate something at the beginning to address what's going on, especially if it impacts the quality of their life. But for basic first steps of creating a healthier life, I would start with food and water. All right, thanks y'all for joining me on Vital Wisdom with Dr. Eli Camp. And next week, I'm not sure what we're going to do. It might be a surprise. I just don't know. I've had some questions come in about ADD and ADHD and things like that. So we'll see, but thank you so much. And I hope you have a great day.